signals. Yeah. What a pain in the rear. Alright, so I figured I'd do a little video here just on the signals that I'm putting in over here in Eugene. Trying to get this along so I can get everything up and wired and get the program running so I can actually have some operating signals. So this one here, New York Central bracket signal that I bought again from IS, Integrated Signal Systems, through Tim. Does a nice job. I like the way it looked. Just for the fun of it, put it there. So that's sitting there. So that one's in, dropped, tested, and I'll show you underneath the layout just for fun. So that's ready to go. And you can see it's got. I know it's hard to see. This signal's not going to be the easiest to see for the guys. I have to come all the way back here by the turntable. But so it's got 3, 3, and 2. So that's the setup for that. And then the other one I have in that I'm right now having some issues with underneath the layout. Signal bridge, it works okay. This is the signal bridge. This is one that Tim had and said, hey, do you want I got 2 New York Central signal bridges. I'll give them to you for a decent price. So that's it up. So that way this interlocking, which is Eugene West, is kind of all New York Central-ish. And that's actually a Lines East prototype, but I like the way it looks. So, and that's the one I'm having issues with right now. Anyway, now the dwarves, they're wired up and they work. That one there, that's the south yard dwarf, and then the corresponding north yard. Where is he? It's kind of hard to find him through the viewfinder. He's way over there. So they're wired up, they work, and they're good to go. Real tedious. I think the wires that come off them are like a human hair. I mean, they're really freaking thin. These are thin as well, but they don't seem to be quite. These I think are maybe 30 that Tim uses on the ISS signals. All right, so need to work on that end. Let me do a quick pause. We'll go to the other end. I'll show you the other ones. All right, so the other end here is Eugene East, and these are going to have Reading bracket signals. I already put one in way up at that end, so I had another one that actually I had damaged. I blew out some of the LEDs. I sent it back to Tim. He fixed it up, and so now I have a Reading type interlocking at this end. I just like it. So this is going to be this one here, and then where is my dwarf? I got too many cabin cars on the cabin track. Yeah, that dwarf right down there. Now it's a little dark here, maybe it's a little hard to see. That's lowered. None of these are hooked up yet. They're installed and tested, and I know they work, as they did on the bench. And then I have the other dwarf over there. Now these here are going to be an absolute nightmare, just because under the layout right here, there's a lot of commotion going on. It's just going to be a real pain. It's just a lot going on. You know, you have the control, the command station, and there's turnouts, and I'm not looking forward to this at all. It's going to be really, really annoying to get under there. I mean, to get under the layout's annoying enough as it is, and when you got all kinds of stuff going on under there, it's going to be, I don't know. You may never see another video because I'll be out in the backyard screaming. So this one here at the other end of the interlocking shouldn't be too bad. It's actually dropped and wired. Now I did it hardwired just to make them all red, just to show something. It has the old type of resistor board that I may change, because I think those reds are a little bit too bright. But this one won't be too bad. It isn't too hard to get to. I may need to extend the wires a little bit. Let me pop under the layout just to show you and see if I can show you that. Alright, it's really, really dark. I cranked the ISO. This probably won't be too visible. That's the old board for the signals. And so what I might have to do is, you can see the 2 leads coming in from the right hand side. They go back to the node. I may need to extend those slightly because the new board is over here. Now I probably won't use that. I'm going to use one of the new SHIM boards, and this will be a little bit easier to get to over here as well. I think I can mount them and probably, get in there and work without driving myself too crazy. So I need to pull this out. That's an RS12 or whatever they are, resistor board from Bruce Smith's CMRI stuff. Again, right now it's all just hardwired to display, you know, red on each bracket signal. So, but I got 5 volts up there, way up there, and just need to pull these out and then figure out what's what again. I should mark them now. That's one of the hard parts, is you drop the wires through, then you got 800 leads to figure out, and you got to test and figure out which signal's which when you drop them through. So, all right, let's take a look at the other end and see how that looks underneath. Okay, so here's the signal bridge. This is one I'm having a little bit of issue with. I'm just not getting the lights to work. I think I may have things touching. And I'm going to show you another segment where I change things around a little bit. You see the way I put these on, and these are the shim boards, which I really do like, but you can see how close it is. I couldn't come down much farther because it looks like there's a lot of lead, but really the green wire is the shortest, so you got to make sure you can fit it in. And I did this way thinking I could just bring them in and screw the things in, which works great if you can see the door. If you can see the darn hole or the slot in the terminal board, which is not easy, and I need to wear magnifiers sometimes. These damn things, because my eyes are getting terrible. So it's really kludgy. So I'm going to show you another segment where I actually took and turned them. Because if these, and I may bring this down and redo it just for my sanity. If they were this way, you know, I could get back here and actually look, and it'd be a lot easier to connect them. Because I think I may have some issues with wires touching or something like that. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Let me just flip around here so that you don't need to see me turn around on my rear end here, another layout. Okay, I scooch it around. This is the South Yard double-headed dwarf. I don't know if you can even see those little, again, human hair wires coming in. But it's hooked up. It's pretty much good to go. All I need to do is extend the wires. Let me see if I can do this and not cause extreme nausea. Here's the cable that goes back to the CMRI board. I'm just going to crimp it in. There's no problem with that for me. I have little tiny crimps that'll go up to 26 gauge wire. I'll crimp them in and just run them across and bring them underneath there. So that'll work pretty good. So, and this works. I tested this and everything works fine. This is my 5 volts coming in for the common. So, oops, sorry. So this one's pretty much good to go. I just need to extend that wire a little bit, the cable, and then this will be good to go. And then the north yard is over here. Probably hard to see. I'm not going to scooch out to zoom in a little bit. Okay, that one, again, same thing, tested, wired. It's probably hard to see. I have the yellow and the red wire brought in. I had to extend that as well, but that's ready to go. Just needs to be hooked up, and that's run back to the board. The far one, that's the bracket. And you can see on that one, I'm going to show you a segment probably right after this that just touches on it. Those have been flipped. So the signal connections are to the side. So let me show you that segment just to talk about that so you know what I'm talking about, and then we'll see how the connection goes on that signal. All right, one recommendation that I learned the hard way. Here's 2 shim cards set up. This is for the Eugene West. You can see signal, Eugene West, 2 east, and 1 east. So these are actually at the west end of the interlocking because they're the eastward signals. And anyway, shim cards are great. Love them. You can see this is set up for this particular bracket. This resistor is in series. I didn't have the larger value, and I didn't want to wait to buy them, so I just put 2 in series. Anyway, basically on each side it's green, yellow, red, and then yellow, red. So all 8 of these are going to be used. And this over here is for my common, so I'll bring all the common wires together down here to 5 volts. They'll go up through the signal, and then down through here, and then you know these lines are grounded as needed to get your indication. So What I ran into is the issue trying to get the little itty teeny, and they are freaking little pains in the butt wires. It's the nature of the beast. Into here when this is mounted like this under the layout. You're still under the layout, and no matter what you do, it's still kind of hard to get in there, especially with my vision the way it is. You know, I need readers, and sometimes even the readers don't help. I got to put stupid magnifiers on. That's anyway. Doing it this way I found to be a pain. Okay, a real pain. Doable, but a pain. So what I'm going to do, what I would recommend, something to think about if you're going to use something like this, and I do recommend the SHIM cards. They're good. I'm going to take these off and turn them this way on the board, because then from under the layout, and I already looked into this, I can go like that. I can look, see the opening. So basically with one hand, you know, bring that itty bitty wire in, with the other hand the real tiny screwdriver, and probably do a better job of getting them installed and keeping them separated and not touching and all that kind of stuff. So that's just a suggestion. You know, I thought I was going to be smart and do it on a layout like this. Just drop them right down, bring the CMRI, you know, back to the node underneath. Well, it doesn't matter. I'll go this way with it. I still can run the wires this way because these are a lot sturdier. These are 24 gauge, you know, 8 conductor, 4 conductor, 6 conductor. I forget what I have under their cables being used for that. So they're a lot more sturdy than these little guys that come off the signals. So anyway, something to think about. Just trying to make it easier for myself underneath the layout. So these are going to come off, be turned, and hopefully be a lot bit easier when I connect this bracket signal under the layout. Okay, reoriented, relabeled, ready to go. Like I said, I'm hoping this will be a lot easier on the signal wires because I can just look in there and make sure they're in, because that's the hardest part when you're trying to feed those itty bitty stinking wires and things are sitting this way and you're under the layout and you're trying to look up and you're kneeling and you're hitting your head. Anyway, it isn't fun anymore. So hopefully this will be a little bit easier, so we'll see. Let's go get this back installed and see how the signal installation goes. Okay, yeah, so here we are, and no, this is not a time lapse or a time travel. Signal bridge is back off the layout and back at the bench because when I was trying to connect it under the layout, some of the LEDs weren't working. I'm like, what the hell? This is really aggravating me because I tested it fully at the bench. I got my 5-volt supply right here, and I can get the right resistors and test everything out. Everything was working. Well, here's what I think I did. This is the stupidest thing I think I've done in a long time. Like I said, we show you the good, the bad, the ugly on this channel, and most of it's bad or ugly. When I dropped all these wires through, you know, the 4 bundles of 4 wires each, I went through this stainless steel tube, which in hindsight was actually pretty stupid because it's probably a little bit too, the ID is probably too small. When I cut this in, it swaged over, and I probably didn't clean it. There's probably some rough spots, and I think what happened was when I fed it down through, and I had to force it a wee bit, I probably nicked some of the wires, and some of the wires were probably touching. Because when I brought it back off the layout, back here to the bench, retested everything, everything works fine. So I didn't lose an LED. They all work. Okay, so at least that's a somewhat of a victory. So I'm not going to do this again. Because I wanted to be realistic. Because you got to be, you know, everything's got to be to scale in Mall of Rarity, and otherwise you're a loser. No, just kidding. So what I'm probably going to do, is I have them separated into the right and left, looking at it, right. Maybe I'll put 2 plastic, like evergreen, styrene tubes, and if they're a little bit too big, who cares? I just want to come a little bit so I can guide these down through, so at least on the bottom, under the layout, I know which is the right and the left. Not that finding them is that terrible. It's just I'm to the point now where I want this damn thing in, and so I can move on, because I got a lot of other signals to do. that are going to be more difficult than this. So, and also I noticed it was a little bit out of cattywampus, so you can see the level there. I think what happened when this was built, because if you'll notice, it's hard to see, but this foot is higher than the other three. I think, and I don't know that it's going to show up, anyway, I think this end of the signal bridge is a little bit. I'll try to show when it's back on the layout, because you can notice that, you know, these cross beams look like they're tilted forward a little bit. And I'm not going to sit there and try to twist this thing, because I know what I'll do. You want to hear some real harsh language? Yeah, let me show you trying to fix it. So I'm saying, all right, fine. I'm just going to leave it alone. It's not terrible. To level it off nice, I did have to add a little bit of, I don't know what that is, maybe 020. I'm just going to glue it to the bottom of these and paint it, and then slap it in. It's all going to be covered with ballast. Won't be a big deal. The fact that this foot, again, is a little bit higher, once it's in ballast, you can't really tell. You can notice, and that's how I noticed when I got on the layout, you know, these, because the eye can kind of see that. Excuse me. So we'll see. I'll try to get a video of that just to see. But you know what? Whatever. Because I am not going to take this and try to twist it, or just unsolder it and redo it. No, I'm not. So I got it pretty darn close on level. Everything's working, because I did test them. Let me do a little bit of a drone sweep over here. Here's my test paper. Boop. You can see that. So here I tested the right and the left. Now I know, I'm not a smart man. I know this is the left and that's the right. But I was under the layout looking up at the signal bridge, which is facing that way. So looking at it, that's the right side. So that's the method of my madness. That's why the one on the left is called the right and vice versa. So trust me, there's a method to the insanity on this layout. So you can see I went through, and initially the bottom yellow wasn't working on the left. The bottom yellow wasn't working. The upper red wasn't working. When I grounded this one to try to test this one, the bottom red went on, but the bottom red also went on, just doing it by itself. The bottom green on the right didn't work, and amazingly this head all worked, so that head was all okay. So, but now everything's okay. I want them all to work. I'm not necessarily sure on the left I'm really going to use anything other than the red down below, because all you can do is go straight. You can't cross over. There's no diverging routes whatsoever. It's straight through. So I might just go with stop, clear, approach. That might be it. On this one, I did want the green because you can cross over. So I'll probably have, you know, red over flashing green, red over flashing yellow, etc., etc. So I did want the green to work. So that one kind of bothered me. The fact that yellow, if I had burned it out, wouldn't have been the end of the world, because I'm probably not going to even use it. But anyway, we'll see. But I want them all there because I may want to use it. Who knows? All right, so that's that. So they all work. As of right now, I just need to get this bridge kind of reassembled, figure out what I want to do to reinsert the wires, these damn little 32 AWG wires. I did see some nicks on them, which could be, you know, when they're all together and they're laying together. I tried to separate them under the layout, but man, these things go all over the place. You can only do so much. So I need to come up with a way to maybe try to insulate them, just touch them up a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if I can use, I wonder if paint would do it. I don't know. I'll do some research and come up with something. So get that glued on. Get these two came off when I removed it. That's okay. Get those two reinstalled. And then get it back on the layout and try it all over again. So here we go. Again, what not to do when you're installing signals. But we'll try to make it right. I'm not going to let a bunch of 32 gauge wires beat me. So I said, all right, off you come, back to the bench. Let's see what's going on, and we'll get her. We'll get her. At least that's what that's my story, and I'm gonna stick to it. So, all right, more to come. Okay, we're ready for the reinstallation. So, what I did, I separated all the wires. They're all fanned out down here. I did see some nicks on some of the wires. Don't know if it was the issue or not, but hey. On the bench, so I'm going to fix it. In fact, I emailed Tim at Integrated Signals, and he recommended to use either clear nail polish or thin ACC. as a little, repair on the wires. They're good insulators. So, okay, you're the man. So that's what I did. I used some thin ACC. I don't happen to have any clear nail polish. I guess I just ran out of it over the weekend. It was a wild weekend. So everything's separated. I drilled a bigger hole on the other side. The way I'm going to do it is I have 2 of these evergreen tubes that look like a decent size. I'm sure they're way oversized for prototype, but that's what I used. Cut a small piece of it here. You can see these are being what's going to come through the layout. I have it separated to the front is the left head, the back is the right head, and I test everything. I slid these on, tested it. I marked the bottom head, I tested it. I went to the bathroom, I tested it. I had dinner, I tested it. I took a walk, I tested it. So anyway, so you get the point. This thing, everything's working. All the LEDs are working. And just the way I tested it, I brought 5 volts over to the bench, so I have it. Because when I'm doing this, I like to use the Logic Rail Technologies signal tester, but that uses 9 volts. I want to use the actual voltage I'm going to use apply to the signals when I'm picking the resistors. So that's why I have it here at the bench, just so I can do that. And then I went through several times, and I'll see how well it'll show up. But I did verify. We got. So I'm just trying to touch it and hold the camera here. This may not work. Bottom green. Bottom yellow. And of course bottom red. That's because I can't get a good connection with this jumper kit. There we go. Alright, so they're all working. I tested like 45 times. Everything's tested. I'm going to use this to guide all of these through, so nothing snags going through the 3/4 plywood. Then I'll stop. They'll be through far enough. I'll feed this down through. I'll have to do a little bit of remedial work around it because I am using a larger hole than I probably should, but I don't want to play with it. I don't want to mess with it. I don't want wire snagging, catching, scraping, shorting, grounding. So alright, so now's the time. Now's the time on sprockets when we dance. Alright, let's get over there and get it installed. Five minutes later. Okay, got it in. It's sitting there. I'm not going to secure it till I know it all works. Last time I had it all in and ballasted and everything, glued in, and guess what? It didn't work. So I used this tube, put all the wires through, let it drop on through. This kind of got through and slid off like a solid rocket booster off the space shuttle, so that worked perfectly. And now it's just a matter of, I'm going to put that in, going underneath, hooking it up, and then to test it, what I'm going to do, I'll get a little bit cocky and I'm going to hook everything up. Then I'm going to come out here, put this camera in this here tripod, and I'm going to turn it, I'm going to focus it at the camera head, get my cell phone, which I can link to remote to this, take that underneath with me so I can see the signal and then test it all. So I don't have to crawl in and out every time. So I'll test, bottom right, red, yellow, green, bottom left, red, yellow, green, blah, 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 etc. So, because last time I did it one by one. I hooked up a wire, I crawled out and looked at it, yep, went back under, hooked in, crawled back out, looked at it, and I was like, I'm too old for this crap. So we're going to set it up and we're going to see how it goes. So let's take a quick look underneath, just for the sake of completing this and for a pad in the run length of this video. Alright, little tight quarters under here, but you can see why I changed those to feed in from the left there, because I can shine a light on them. You can actually watch, get them in. Worked a lot better. That was definitely one of the smart things I did. I don't do many smart things, and that was one of them. And I do have those coming down through. These two are the back, which of course is the left signal, which looking at it is the front. Just track 2. And then the other ones are the right signal, which is track 1. And hopefully I can see the black Sharpie I put on the bottom head. And really, if I can, yeah, it looks like I can see it. It shouldn't be that hard to hook them up. So get all these hooked up, and I have the 5 volts already wired in. Doesn't look all that pretty, but it works. I turned the layout off because I didn't want anything touching somewhere, and heaven forbid, blowing out a freaking LED. So then I can turn the layout back on. I have all the wires over here for the various heads ready to go. I have my ground wire connected to the control ground. And like I said, I'll put the cell phone right down here. This camera will face it. I should be able to see it and just go, in 5 minutes be done, right? Alright, let's see what happens. Okay, so here we are. So you can see I got one, well, you probably can't see it yet, but what I did was I hooked my phone up with the Sony. You can see my phone? Hello! So it's got remote, so I can control this remotely. But what I'm going to do now, from up here, before I crawl under, I'm going to zoom in on the signal head, or the signal bridge, so I can see it. Actually, I'm more concerned about seeing it in the phone, obviously, because that's where I'm gonna be. So I take that. All right. Okay, looks all right. So now I'm gonna crawl under and just go green, yellow, red, green, yellow, red, test everything. So I won't record that because that'll just be crazy. But let you know how it works in a moment. All right, you probably can't hear me very well, but I'm under the layout, so I'll show you. Here's what I did. So I'm looking at the phone there, and I can see it. That was the bottom left red, yellow, green, top left red, yellow, green, right bottom rolled, Gelb, green, red, yellow, green. Everything works! Yay! Okay, so I'm back. I don't know if you heard me yelling from under the layout, but everything works. Everything's lit up as expected. So apparently I had something touching, crossed, or grounded before. So now what I need to do, let's go droning over here. Pardon me. And now I got to come in and obviously dress it up a little bit. You know, get that covered up with some ballast. Maybe get a little bit of something around the conduits coming up to get the ballast back in. Then of course retest everything again. I'm a little careful with the water around here, but it should not be an issue when I do the, you know, the diluted Mod Podge and wet water and everything to get all the scenic items in. So let's do that, and then I'll probably, for now, I'll leave this hooked up with all 4 reds on, just to have something showing before I actually get the program working. So all right, whew, I'll count that as a good evening. So the signal's dark. That's okay. It's done. I'm gonna do a quick drone around here. Everything's done. Every signal that's on the layout is now wired in. And again, this one's all dark. It's run back to this CMRI node, and for some reason they must be open. I'll show you another signal. Sometimes you never know what's going to happen on these, but on this Sussex board, it doesn't seem to automatically ground the outputs. It just, whenever I turn it on, it always comes on and they're all open. So that's why none of those are lit. That's okay. I could fudge it if I want to, but nah, I want to get the program working. So alright, so that's that signal. And again, that's working. At least it better be. It was last time I worked on it. North Yard Dwarf. It's wired up. Oops, sorry, I'm going way too fast here. The South Yard Dwarf, that's working. signal bridge. Now that you'll notice the red is on. That's because I grounded that out. That's always going to be red. Unless I decide to run it back, I could. But for now, since on that track, all you can do is go straight. So I'm going to go ahead, leave that as red on the bottom there, and then as we pan this way, well, there's a coal train getting ready to. Where the empties? There they are. Look at that, empty coal cars. Wonder where they're going. Ooh, some general freight. Looks like an empty ash car. Ah, some things. Looks like they're going to be heading out of here pretty soon. Okay, so at this end, okay, it's nice and dark. And same on this signal. The bottom two are always red, so they're wired and grounded. And the other one's wired back. And then the south yard dwarf, right there, it's done. The north yard dwarf, it's done. Tested, everything works. But again, because of the board, the outputs being open, they're not lighting up. So what happens is, just to show you, this is the on this board. Obviously, I don't know what indications those are. Yeah, check your New York Central signal indication charts. Anyway, what happens is that just means that all those outputs are grounded on the board. If I turn it off and turn it on again, something different will happen. At least on the S Minis. For some reason on the Sussex cars it doesn't do that. I don't know why. Anyway, not an issue. And then we'll drone over here. Again, this one's up. And then same thing, the bottom reds are always on, so they're wired and grounded. So that end's done. So this interlocking is complete. And I just finished. I'm going to drone over here and say, uh-oh. That coal train's going to have a little bit of issue getting through there on the way to Wallace. But I did also get these Tomars. Now I have to reach this in, so this may get a little shaky here, but and I'll show you a view from the track. But I'm not sure how well that shows up because I can't even look in the viewfinder. But those are on, and right now I have all the reds grounded out just for fun. Once I drop those off, they'll probably do some kind of randomness. I don't know. Because I actually haven't wired that back yet. What I have to do is hook up the cables underneath for these two signals to wire them back to the S Mini board, which I'm going to do right now. That's just busy work, but I want to get it done. And like I said, that way everything is on the layout. They're going to come back. Like I said, there's the, I probably can't see that, but that's the S Mini board. Okay, good enough. So pretty much every signal on the layout in about 10 minutes will be completely hooked up, wired back to the boards, and now I gotta start doing the reprogramming. The only ones I have to do are when sharing. Let me show you that real quick. Okay, here's the seedy underbelly of the layout, just to show it. This is the Wallace Junction East, which are signals WJ1E and signal WJ2E, this being 1E obviously. I have my 5 volts coming in, and then from there I ran to here, which goes through up to the common. The Tomar signals have one common, the white wire. And on this side, which is a lot brighter because of the LED light, same thing, the 5 volts comes in. That's shorted there, and then boom, up to the signal, then down again. Again, this was smart doing it this way. I got lucky because I did this a long time ago. So from the side's a lot easier. This one was a real pain because it's on top. You can't get up high enough to really look. So I had to kind of do it, you know, by feel. It was annoying, but I got them in. They're in, they're wired. This cable, I hope these cables are right, because all I found was this really old WJ1E, which I hope I marked it. But what I did, just in case, I left some slack in this cable. This cable will obviously fit there if I have to swap them. This cable, I was going to run it up and cut it, but I left it long enough so if I have to, this cable can go over to there. So if I'm wrong, it's going to be easier to swap them here as opposed to changing signals or anything like that. So, alright, so that's what it looks like underneath with the 5 volts and the signals and the cables back to the board. All run in. So now this one's done. So like, whew, finally. Okay, last thing with them done. So like I said, I still have 5 more position light signals to put in. One will go here on the track that comes out of staging up to the Sharon interlocking here. Then somehow, one on this track, one on this track, again coming into the interlocking. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to put them yet. Maybe here and here, or one here, I don't know. It's a little weird because the interlocking is not all that easy to signal on this end. But anyway, but then there'll be 2 here on the main line, one on the staging track, and then coming in the westbound direction amongst all the scenery material, right here, here, and here, have 2 more protecting the interlocking. So 5 more position lights to go in, and then every signal is done. Now, luckily, all these cables are run. I did that work before. It's now just a matter of figuring out where I want them, dropping them in, getting the shim boards made, installed, and getting them tested, and should be good to go. So, alright. So that is it. Signals. I know it's a long slugfest, but I figured, I know not a lot of folks will be, or some folks won't be super interested, but I just wanted to show you how to do the signals, because if you ever have to do it yourself, and you wonder, I would have loved to have a video like this way back when I was starting. You know, this isn't really meant for the folks that are a little more advanced, have done signaling and whatnot. You know what to do, but if you're starting out, this is what you got. This is what to go through, and the pitfalls and what to look for. I learned a lot even doing this, how to orient the shim boards and everything, so it's a lot easier to put them in. How to use the phone and the remote control of the camera to allow yourself to stay underneath the layout, do all the testing without climbing back and forth 45 times, check all the LEDs. So anyway, alright, that's it, signaling. So more to come. Let's get things cleaned up a little bit here, and let's see if we get that coal train running.